about Make a Date with Me.
Good evening, welcome. This is Off the Cuff here on MX24. Over the last 7 days, there's been a lot that has happened in the world of sports, and tonight we have a lot to talk about over the next 60 minutes. Top of the agenda, it's been 1 year since Kurt Okreku breezed into the office of the GFA presidency after winning election that was quite contentious and had a lot of controversy surrounding it because of what had happened before that. So 1 year into Kurt's tenure as the president of the Ghana Football Association, we give you the opportunity to assess his performance so far, albeit against the backdrop that there was COVID, which is taking about 6 months of the active period of his presidency. So we'll be sharing our WhatsApp line and our Twitter handle with you. We'll give you the opportunity to comment on that. Kotoko have a unique relationship with Brazilians. Well, actually, Hearts of Folk also have a technical director. In the build-up to the start of the new season, Kotoko have signed the latest Brazilian to come into town. The history with the Brazilians is quite sketchy. We'll be exploring that in this edition of the show as well. Last week, it was Alhaji Moro who was laid to rest. This week, another sports administrator has passed on, Evans Amenume. We'll be talking to a prominent former executive of the Ghana Football Association concerning what this means for football administration in the country and whether there is a succession plan. And then later on, we'll go to Europe and the rest of the world, and we talk about the biggest sports stories across the world. This is MX24. You're watching Off the Cuff. I'm going for my first break. When I come back, there's a lot to talk about. Stay tuned. Please don't go away.
Shop online, get free swipes, and enjoy greater security with a card that turns banking on its head. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
Charlie, welcome back to refreshing times at the bar. Be responsible, be safe. Always wear a face mask when going into any public place. Everywhere ABL products are served have a strict no mask, no entry policy. Everyone who serves you is required to wear a mask for your safety and theirs. While unnecessary steps have been taken by the establishment, we rely on you to adhere to COVID-19 safety measures. Keep your distance. Avoid physical contact even while you enjoy yourself. Remember, when you cough, Cough into your elbow or into a tissue and dispose of it immediately in the bins provided close by. Always wash your hands after. Wherever you enjoy club and other ABO products at home or at the bar, be responsible. Drink responsibly. While you keep to all COVID safety tips, remember to stay alert. This message is brought to you by Accra Brewery Limited, producers of Ghana's original beer, Club.
They say it's the little things that count. The things we shouldn't take for granted. Like being able to have a warm shower. Oh, how about some tea, my dear? And cooking with ease. How about being able to invite friends over so confidently? Sharing the food, just chilling over a few drinks, watching movies. It's just, what's the word? Comfortable. I could go on and on and on and on, but we both know what I'm driving at. It's life's affordable luxuries, and it's the heartbeat of every home. It's simple. It's NASCO. Bring home happiness.
They'll go with a 4-4-2 diamond formation for that early lead.
An early goal will settle the nerves.
Their away team has been in bad form. They will feel the pressure.
The home side's kept 2 clean sheets in a row.
It's all about momentum.
Who will have the stamina to last the 90 minutes?
Their star striker is suspended.
They've got no kappa.
The marking will be tight.
This will be won or lost in the midfield.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet. Betway, for the love of the game.
Welcome back. This is Off the Cuff here on MX24. Join us via WhatsApp. Join us on our Twitter handles. All that will be displayed on the screen. We'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Still to come, we'll be talking about all the biggest stories from football. We'll be looking ahead to the Champions League matches which are coming up this week. Some of the biggest results from over the weekend. And we'll also be talking Ghana Premier League. As we prepare towards the commencement of the season, there are some very interesting chess moves being made by the biggest clubs in the country, Kumasi, Asante Kotoko, and Accra. We'll talk about that. But first, we are going to start with the Ghana Football Association. And before we do that, let me introduce my guest. Welcome.
Thank you,
It's always good to have you here.
Yeah, good to be
Jerome
here.
is here.
Yeah.
Jerome, have you been to Brazil lately?
No, I haven't, but I've read a lot.
About Brazilians. We'll be talking about that. But let's start first with Ghana Football Association. Today happens to be exactly a year since Keto Kreku, preaching igniting passion, creating wealth for all, was voted into office as president of the Ghana Football Association. It's been a year already, huh?
Wow, time flies.
It's passed very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's only proper that we reflect on this. And I'm asking anybody who is watching me, send us a WhatsApp message. I'm very happy to read what your thoughts are. Simple message. After a year of Kreku's presidency, what are your thoughts? And we have to hedge this against the promises he's made and what he's done so far, including just the foundational things, because we know that there's been COVID. But even before we plunge into that, last week we spoke about Alhaji Moro, founder of Brekum Arsenal, who passed on. This week we understand another football administrator, Evans Amenume, has passed on as well. And I'll speak to somebody who's been quite busy as a football administrator within this country and who is quite familiar with several of these football administrators concerning the death of Evans. May his soul rest in peace. And what this means generally for football administration in the country. George Afriye is a former vice president of the Ghana Football Association. Hello, George. Good evening to you.
Fine evening, Baptist.
Thank you very much for joining us. I guess the first question will be, what have you been up to? Because we haven't seen you or heard from you for a while, George.
Well, good evening and good evening to your panelists, my good friends Jerome and Yaobin.
Yeah.
Well, I've been around. Somebody will say I've been minding my own business.
All right, sir. First, we know about Alhaji Moro, and all of you were there to, pay your respects to him. But Evans Amenume, most people may not know him. Tell us about Evans.
Well, but it's a sad day, the passing of Evans Amenume, a very good friend and a colleague at the Football Association. I met Mr. Amenume some way back 2003, and Mr. Amenume was one of the early appointees of Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi's administration, and I'm referring to when he served as a member of the Division 1 League Board, first under lawyer Julius Jabin, and then later under Mr. lawyer Kwame Ntofianko, who also became chairman. He rose to become a vice chairman of that committee. He was also instrumental with the juvenile committee. And then he was also very much involved with activities at the Regional Football Association, precisely Greater Accra Regional Football Association. From my point, he's almost dedicated throughout his life. I mean, from speaking to him, interacting with him, he has been doing football even before some of us even joined the Football Association. And very nice person, hardworking. But as you understand that, if you look at those crop of old leaders that some of us came to meet, these are people who were doing football for almost nothing. It was just the passion, the love, and the zeal to just develop youth in this our football industry. They were not being remunerated for, they were not being paid for the services that they were rendering those days. I mean, it was just the pure passion and the love of the game. And I'm just referring to, while you even have Yao and Jerome in your studio this evening, it is not just because of maybe what Metro is going to give them by sitting there, but because of their love and passion for it. And these old men were doing that in their days. I mean, Mr. Amenume was a very, very fine gentleman. You will never find fault with. Anybody who came close working with him will tell you that he was a very nice person.
And so, George, as we lose some of these old guys, what do you see? Do you think there's good enough succession planning, that we have a good enough breed of people taking over from these guys in terms of football administration?
Well, the scope and the structure itself in football is changing. I mean, we've moved from the past when, during their days, we were using skill and measurements to determine the ages of players and all that. These days, yes, that used to be the days of the good old coast football day. Now the structure is changing and football has evolved. I mean, as you all understand. And so there's a popular saying in Akan that you can never say that, I mean, because we've lost these old men, or we've lost this old generation, we don't have enough young men coming in. Definitely we'll get people coming in. But my fear is that the love of money these days is where the problem is. You see, in the past, you could get these people going around scouting for players. They were doing almost the work of coaches at the same time. Those days, they could recommend players for the juvenile teams. I'm talking of the under 17, the under 20, because these are the people who travel to our hinterlands to look for talents, to do the scouting, to do the scaling, to do registration. And I remember recently we lost these 8 kids in the offensive constituency. These were the things they were doing in the past. They would pass these kids, put them in a car, go scale them, register them, bring those registration to the urban centers. So it was difficult then. So you ask yourself whether we have young men these days taking over to do the exact work that they were doing for. For example, I'll give you a typical example. During the early days of Mr. Nyantakyi's administration, when Mr. Amenume was serving as a member of the Division 1 League Board, he was being paid 40. I think it was even 25 CDs. Then he got to 40 CDs as a sitting allowance. So probably you earn 100 Ghana cedis maximum, or 140, 160 Ghana cedis per month.
Wow.
Then you ask yourself, a family man of that stature, how is he going to cope? And he was doing this as almost a full-time job.
Wow.
You see, so there were a lot of sacrifices, there were a lot of determination and a passion to do work. So you have to find out whether these days you have people who are ready to step up to say that, yes, I want to dedicate myself to serve football in that capacity. That is where the question lies.
It's a big question, George. Before I let you go, though, where should we expect you to pop up one of these days? You're a football person. I don't think you will be minding your business for too long.
Just send an official invitation. I'm sure what you want to talk 1 year of. It's been exactly 1 year when a new administration took over from the normalization committee. So you want to know my views, the new administration, whether they are doing well, what are the pluses and minuses and whatever. Just right now.
All right, George, thank you very much for speaking to us. We are very grateful. It's always a pleasure. So that official invitation will come.
It's a nice evening and good night to my good friends, Yao and Jerome.
Thank you very much, George. It's always a pleasure to talk to George. So he says, you know, that the new administrators are full of love for money. Jerome, is that the case?
I think so. And if you look at how football has gone, I mean, Ghana football has gone over the last 5 or so years, or even more. Money has dominated everything, from the senior national team level, even to the junior teams, to the women's team.
Yeah.
Recently, I saw a video of the Black Queens going to the Ministry of Youth and Sports, asking for their bonuses, which have not been paid. When I was growing up and following football, I mean, national team football, never did I hear of players, except maybe those days when they would invite players and not pay for their tickets.
Yeah.
And even then, it wasn't as we have seen now.
But now the money is in football. So the players have every right to have legitimate expectations.
Of course, but I think the problem is with how those managing the game manage issues when it comes to money. And I will never forget this. When Black Stars returned from Brazil, one Daily Graphic banner headline I saw, quoting Kwesi Nyantakyi, was, "Money ruined us." That should tell you that how we have managed football relative to money hasn't been the best.
Okay, you know what? I may just have to plunge into this 1 year matter with you, Yao. We are reviewing a year of Ken. I remember it was, I think, the 14th of September or so, 2019, when he launched his famous manifesto with a lot of glitz, you know, around it. And he went on to win the elections this day last year. And we are looking back on his administration. Generally, how well would you say he's done?
Well, I think that 6 months has been wasted away because of COVID. So it's very difficult to really judge him. But one thing that's significant for me is before COVID, the attention that they gave to women's football was remarkable. I mean, Hilary Boateng, Cleopatra, and the rest, they really brought the women's game into a good limelight, and that was good. And at least this time around, we can see some structures. There's an executive council, which supposedly is working well. There's the president who is there. There's a general secretary who is full-time, not an active one. So at least there's some structures. I think because COVID came in and the league is not working and the Black Stars have not really played, and we have not. They started some juvenile football drive, which was good, and I hope that they don't stop it. When the league starts in 20 days, they'll kickstart from there and go back to what they were doing. They started doing juvenile football.
I think the best place to go would be to look at what he himself said in his manifesto. Transparency, accountability, annual audit. That was the first pillar. So after a year, we are expecting that at the end of the year, there will be an audit. The question is whether the audit outcome will be a public
but they've appointed auditors, I mean, at the last Congress, right? So,
they did.
So we expect that the auditors will do their work at the end of the year.
Will it be a public document?
It has to. I don't see what they would have to hide. It has to.
How well have they done with that, transparency and accountability?
I would say fair. Fair in the sense that, like Yao said, 6 months or 7 months out of the 12 months have been taken by COVID, where nothing practically took place.
But that doesn't prevent you from showing transparency and accountability.
But
it's about letting people know what's going on.
So that's why I think it's been fair, because there have been instances where I have not understood certain things. You ask, and there are explanations. Whether or not those explanations really satisfy the question is another matter. But the mere fact that there is immediate, that immediacy to get you answers to questions that you have, for me, it's key. And to be fair, if you take the COVID relief funds, you have a problem with the distribution. I had a problem with the allocation made for media, for instance. But I think to the extent that there was that willingness to let the public know how the money will be shared, even if it was wrong, I'm saying that once they put it out there for the public to see, I think it's a good thing.
Let's just pause briefly. I have on the line Kwame Jomo. He speaks for Legon Cities Football Club. One of the stories that's been trending on social media and on several of the football websites is news that Legon Cities have signed Black Stars general skipper Asamoah Gyan, and some are quoting an annual salary of 1 million Ghana cedis. Kwame Ajiman, have you signed Asamoah Gyan, and are you paying him 1 million cedis?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak on the show. As far as I'm aware, we haven't signed the Asamoah Gyan, and we are not paying him $1 million.
Are there plans to sign him? Are you guys in discussions with the Black Stars general skipper?
We are in discussions with a number of players, and hopefully we get over the line with any of them. We would confirm that to the world.
Kwame, in the next few days, you will expect Legon Cities to unveil Asamoah Gyan in any capacity with the club as one of your acquisitions for the new season. Is he one of the players you are speaking with?
There's a possibility we are going to unveil a number of players before the 31st of October.
Has the club had any contact with Asamoah Gyan?
The club has had contact with quite a number of players, and we are hoping to get a deal done for as many as possible before the 31st of October.
Okay, but we understand you Gazam Takra for Kujo's signature. Can you confirm that at least?
If you could just repeat the question again.
Kujo, a player everybody is quite familiar with. Hearts of Folk were looking to sign him. I understand Legon Cities have acquired services.
Enim Kujo, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's news to me as well. Because in the last, I'm not too sure why Yari Jerome appear not to believe anything I say, but that's fine. I mean, that's fine. I mean,
your surprises us. That's all.
The surprise elements being that we're after a number of players that I am familiar with. Maybe to be honest with you on this one, this is not one I am familiar with. That's why, there is a bit of laughter with me in here. But like I said, we have only up till Friday. The thing is this, the reason why certain names may be out there in the media, space and all that, I can understand that. We have just about 5 to 6 days to practically wrap up every conversation we're having with any player anywhere. Things have been, if you like, not as fast as we may want, and until the deal is done, we believe that it will be unfair to the player if, for example, if the player is a free agent, or it will be unfair to a club if we go ahead to be discussing a conversation surrounding the player in the media space. We believe that it's only fair that we wait for a deal to be done, even if we are very confident that a deal is done. There's every chance the club can change their mind. There's every chance the player can change his mind. Maybe they are even speaking to other people that we may not be aware of. And once we go public, it might be a bit embarrassing if it happens that we do not do a deal for a particular player. So I can understand, the euphoria surrounding certain players in the media space, but we want to wait till signatures are appended, and that's where we're going to be confident that a deal has been done. Okay,
Kwame, thanks for joining us with that. We wish you all the best with that Asamoah signing.
Okay, and thanks very much for the opportunity. And to Jerome, I hope the explanation he got for the balls was satisfactory on his Facebook wall.
Which balls? That's what I was talking about. That even if the FA, the explanation they give you is not satisfactory, the mere attempt to explain things, for me, it's
fair enough.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
We've spoken about gender and equity. You said on that you feel they've done extremely well.
Yeah.
They said good corporate governance will be the hallmark of this administration.
Well, I think so far, I mean, we went to Congress, they appointed auditors, so we're expecting there's a certain structure. There's the Executive Council, as I said. So there seems to be some structures being put in place. So.
You're on professionalism, innovation, and investment.
Not much to take away from them, but innovation, I think that is where perhaps they get high marks. The bring back the love campaign, I think was creative enough. COVID unfortunately truncated it, and that energy that was behind it almost died down. Maybe when the league starts in November.
For the national team, one of the key things I remember in that manifesto was the code of ethics.
Yeah,
I don't think that has been...
And conduct for every national team.
We will have to find out why that code of conduct is not out.
Because COVID should not take away the drafting of a code of conduct.
You know, going into that, I remember there was a statement explaining or stating the fact that the committee was going to have, I think, 3 months to submit a report. And I even questioned why a committee to determine wages or is it emoluments of national team handlers would be set up. I mean, there will be appointments to these national teams before a committee goes in to determine what they should be paid. So, on what basis did they accept?
And there's one last thing I want. There's a committee that has been set up to look at the contribution of football to GDP. I really want to see that committee work because what's going to happen is once we get a certain blueprint from that, even clubs can use that to go to sponsors and say, look, sponsor me, this is the value I'm going to bring to the community, this is the value I'm going to bring to your company. We need something like that. So if they can action it, I think that would be good.
Again, on the national team, I think they said that they were going to convince Black Stars players to give at least 15% of their bonuses to be used to support juvenile football.
I don't think
I don't know if the process has been started.
Maybe it's a process.
but that committee to determine emoluments of national team handlers, it's something we must find out. It's too long ago.
Yeah.
If it's been done.
I mean, these are all
foundational. But there's a Black Stars management committee and stuff. So why would you want to form another so a committee within another
this
committee?
Is to determine emoluments of national team handlers, which means Black Stars to...
Okay, so the Executive Council should just take care of it. And
at least, ideally. It seems like a lot of duplication.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Now, on Premier League teams, they said upgrade all training pitches, supply computers for Premier League clubs, free internet facility for secretariat of all clubs, supply free training for coaches, administrators, and other officials. Supply 50 footballs for all Premier League clubs.
It's got the balls out. The
balls. So 30 pairs of football boots for all Premier League clubs annually. Have you heard anything about that? Supply 4 sets of training bibs to all Premier League clubs annually.
Yeah.
Free registration of up to 30 players per club onto National Health Insurance Scheme.
I don't think that has been done.
Free player registration cards for up to 30 players per club. No. Provision of 35% of World Cup benefit fund.
I mean,
that will be after we qualify.
You know, to be fair, these things would, I think some of them will come because it's a
5 year
term of how many years? 4 or 5?
4 years or
4 years. I mean, not everything can be done in the first year. And particularly when COVID took away a chunk of the time, it's difficult to judge them.
Yeah.
I am sure that if the league had not been truncated or cancelled, we probably would have had so much to talk about because if you look at how the league started, how the issues were coming up, and I've said that if you want to judge how local football is managed, just look at the Premier League. When the disciplinary issues, when the issues of violence and those things come up, the speed with which cases are dealt with, the sort of confidence the public have in the system that is managing the game. These are things we didn't see too well because, I mean, COVID.
Yeah, just before I go for the break, it says also that concerning coaches, provision of training opportunities to enhance knowledge and certification, attachment opportunities with reputable international clubs and federation, provision of up-to-date coaching and player monitoring software, access to proposed central fund, and introduce exchange programs with other FAs around the world. Well, it's still early days here. But he set a really high benchmark.
And there's one thing perhaps we should mention. The catch them young.
Catch them young. Yeah, that's what I was talking about
referee.
Yeah.
I think something has started. I saw some training going on for some young guys.
Yeah, that's a whole discussion for me. I remember the last time I had a discussion with young referees. They were very passionate, but they spoke about how dangerous the lower divisions are, especially going into the hinterland for matches. And that's still the fear for most professionals who otherwise want to get involved. This is off the cuff here on MX24. We've been speaking about 1 year of Quick when we had the opportunity also to talk to George Efie about the demise of key sports football administrators in the country. And you heard Kwame Jumo Ajiman attempting to clarify the position of Legon Cities in relation to Asamoah and Enim Kujo. I'm going for my second break. When we come back, we'll talk about Kotoko and Hearts and their latest acquisitions ahead of the start of the Premier League season. And we'll go to Europe and look at the stories from the biggest leagues. This is Off the Cuff. Stay tuned.
Shop online, get free swipes, and enjoy greater security with a card that turns banking on its head. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
Charlie, welcome back to refreshing times at the bar. Be responsible, be safe. Always wear a face mask when going into any public place. Everywhere ABL products are served have a strict no mask, no entry policy. Everyone who serves you is required to wear a mask for your safety and theirs. While unnecessary steps have been taken by the establishment, we rely on you to adhere to COVID-19 safety measures. Keep your distance. Avoid physical contact even while you enjoy yourself. Remember, when you cough into your elbow or into a tissue and dispose of it immediately in the bins provided close by. Always wash your hands after. Wherever you enjoy club and other ABO products at home or at the bar, be responsible. Drink responsibly. While you keep to all COVID safety tips, remember to stay alert. This message is brought to you by Accra Brewery Limited, producers of Ghana's original beer, Club.
They say it's the little things that count. The things we shouldn't take for granted. Like being able to have a warm shower. Oh, how about some tea, my dear? And cooking with ease. How about being able to invite friends over so confidently? Sharing the food, just chilling over a few drinks, watching movies. It's just, what's the word? Comfortable. I could go on and on and on and on, but we both know what I'm driving at. It's life's affordable luxuries, and it's the heartbeat of every home. It's simple. It's NASCO. Bring home happiness.
They'll go with the 4-4-2 diamond formation for that early lead.
An early goal will settle the nerves.
Their away team has been in bad form. They will feel the pressure.
The home side's kept 2 clean sheets in a row.
It's all about momentum.
Who will have the stamina to last the 90 minutes?
Their star striker is suspended.
They've got no kappa.
The marking will be tight.
This will be won or lost in the midfield.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet. Betway, for the love of the game.
Welcome back. This is Off the Cuff here on MX24. We have the final say when it comes to the biggest sports stories in the world. I have a message from Ruben who says he's watching us live in Bogoso. And he says congratulations to Real Madrid for beating Barcelona yesterday. We'll talk about that still ahead. But let's talk about the Ghana Premier League. One of the biggest stories this week is that Kumasi Asante Kotoko have completed the signing of Brazilian international Fabio dos Santos Gama ahead of the new season. The 28-year-old joins the Porcupines on a free transfer after ending his stay with Swedish Superettan side Jokopin IF. Gama has previously played with Venamo, ABCFC, Segama, EC Bahia, Botafogo, and clubs. Well, my first problem with that story, quoted from Ghana Web, is that he's not a Brazilian international. He's a Brazilian national. He doesn't play for the Brazilian national team.
I think he played for the under-17 and under-20.
Doesn't make him an
former juvenile.
Well, the other big story is the story of Carlos Manuel Vaz. If you don't know him, he's a Portuguese trainer, and we understand that he's going to be the technical director of Accra Hearts of Oak. Well, the story is that Udum is going to be working under him. So the power balance is not very clear. And this is the biggest stories with the two biggest clubs ahead of the commencement of the season. So let's start with the Brazilians. Yeah. Jerome, 2005, Hans-Dieter Schmidt. Charlie, we heard the story that Uli de Castro Rodriguez and Gleison de Souza Ferreira, two Brazilians, were undergoing trials with Kumasi Asante Kotoko. The end thereof. Look. Then in 2013, under Dr. KK Sapong, Masoud Didi Dramani as coach, it was announced that you were signing a 22-year-old called Hermes da Silva to Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Let me lie. And now in 2020, 7 years after the da Silva issue, we have Fabio Gama. Kotoko and Brazilians.
Every 7 to 8 years, there's
something
a cycle.
Happens. There's a Brazilian.
Look, some even take it back when Herbert Mensah brought, is it Komalo and some South Africans, if you remember. Yeah. So Kotoko have that history.
You have a taste.
Yes, for
the foreign.
for foreign footballers. But see, truth be told, I like what has happened.
You like Gama?
I mean, I've not
seen
apart from his videos, I've not seen him.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that I like what has happened. Some have said that they are not going to hype, the Gama because he brings nothing to the game. But you know one thing, the mere fact that all of us are talking about him, it's a form of hype.
Is it a publicity stunt, or he's for real?
No, he's for real. He's coming to join the team, and let's get something clear. Some players are leaving Kotoko, whether we like it or not. Now, they will have to be replaced. I've heard people say, but if you are replacing players, then go for players that we can just check and see their stats and say, come on, these are great players we are bringing in. But here's the point, and I've made this point. Just look at the number of foreigners that have come into our league. And quickly, I have Nimbombe Wake, Sulama, Ameturi,
Ochoa.
Yes, and this guy who just left Intalis.
The
Victorian Adebayo.
Yeah.
Can we confidently say that clubs that brought these players here paid so much for them? The answer is no. When Ameturi came to Ghana, nobody knew him. I mean, he was some teenager somewhere who really, we couldn't say much. So the point I've been making is that we have to accept that we do not have the funds, money enough to buy the best outside this country. What we bring in will always be, if you want to call them spent forces, fine. But I'm saying that we will not get that caliber of players we see out there and we want to bring.
Let's focus on Fabio Gama. What position does he play?
He's a forward.
So this is the guy bringing the goals.
Hopefully. Hopefully. My attitude is, instead of saying anything that will demoralize the fans, I would rather wait to see what he will do. And also commend the management, if not for anything, making that attempt to bring in somebody they think can help. And until he plays, you will know. The stats there, I agree, it may not be that convincing compared to the typical Brazilian footballers we see outside. But I'm saying that let us encourage clubs to take steps like this. Maybe if they make mistakes, by the third, fourth, fifth time they make these signings, they'll get it right. And by that time, there'll be money enough to bring But if if we wash everything down and say, come on, look at the stats, it's not encouraging. What is he coming to do in Ghana? Look, there are Kotoko fans out there who are waiting for him to come to Kumasi. They want to see him and see him train. Yeah. And I can tell you, I mean, maybe COVID restrictions will deny the fans the opportunity to see him at training. But when he starts playing, there will be people out there just waiting to see whether or not he will impress them. And I'm hoping that when he comes, he will start scoring. If he starts scoring, look.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Because our fans, watch out. Fabio Gama coming your way soon. Yeah, double take. Fabio Gama and then Carlos Manuel Vaz. The new technical director.
Oh, I didn't say, look.
No, this one. Say Shiasani. You want to put your mouth in it.
Just one sentence. I don't know why Odum will assist him if indeed he's...
No, they are saying Odum remains coach, he's technical director, but he will supervise Odum. It's a bit complicated.
We know how some of these things have ended.
We know how it starts. Yeah, your comments on the Brazilian, Fabio Gama, and then has going for Carlos.
So I've seen Fabio Gama's YouTube video. You know,
you've watched it.
No, you know with YouTube, right?
It is
you can actually look very good on YouTube. Yeah. I've seen a lot of players, when you look at the YouTube compilation, they look like the next Messi. Yeah. But it doesn't work out. But I mean, I looked at his stats, I looked at the fact that he's been to about 6 different clubs and all on free transfers. It made me worry a bit that he's a bit of a journeyman. Yeah. But I can't kill the guy without him kicking a ball. So let's wait and see. It's just that because of history, and Jerome will attest to it, with what has happened with Kotoko, and even in recent history, the foreigners that they brought from Abege, so it makes people like me worry. Adingra, because some of them, when they came in, the moment they touched the ball, the first knew this guy was not good. But let's see. I mean, let's not kill him. Let's wait and see. And at least what is done is that it's brought a lot of hype to the league. So I'm sure Kotoko's first match, they'll struggle to get that 25% COVID restriction because people would want to see Fabio Gama. So it's good, at least it's brought some hype to the league. But I really wish that we would really stray away from these foreigners and try and give the youngsters in the league. I mean, it's good to bring people to...
If there's money, it's very good to bring foreign players. And I gave you examples. Limbombe Wake was excellent at Ashgo. Sulama was. Ahmed Turi was.
Limbombe took them all the way to the Champions League.
Exactly.
The very first Champions
League. I think the problem with us is the money.
So we don't get it.
But that's what the taste it is there. Just like how Poka brought in Carlos Manuel.
Yeah, I mean, for Carlos, I mean, you see, Haas should just cut us some slack. They are bringing this guy to replace Odum. It's as simple as that. You cannot tell me a technical director is going to supervise a coach. There are different roles. Technical director gives a certain direction.
He said he'll be in charge of Pobiman.
What's a Pobiman? No, you see, Odum has done a very good job. If you don't want him, just tell him that, look, but you don't bring a foreigner in quotes and say, you be his assistant. I think that it's a bit insulting to the work that Odum has done.
Right. That's for Hearts of Folk and Kumasi Asante Coast. But we'll have our eye on the ball concerning the Ghana Premier League as we build up to the commencement of the new season and all the moves that people will be making. So that's it for local sports and specifically local football. Let's go international. Biggest game over the weekend was El Clasico. But watching it was weird, you know, because you've seen the heights Barca could hit. And Real Madrid haven't really had a good start to the season yet. And yet, they rolled past Barca 3-1 quite easily.
I think Koeman, one thing I like about Koeman was that he was brave. For the first time I watched the El Clasico, he started 2 17-year-olds and a 19-year-old. Yeah. That was brave. Yeah. For the biggest match in Spain, to do that, to start Ansu Fati, to start Pedri, to start Sergio Dest. And Sergio Dest was one of the best players on. It's just that Barca has a problem with their spine. Piqué, Lenglet, Busquets.
But Lenglet had a relatively good game yesterday.
But Piqué and Busquets is a problem.
It is a problem.
And that's how come Real Madrid won the game. Because, I mean, look at the penalty. That Piqué. And this whole week, Champions League, he got a red card.
Yesterday, I tweeted that Sergio Ramos is a villain. I know his shirt was starved, but the dive was very dramatic.
Well, yes, but I mean, you put yourself in that situation. Why do you hold him? I mean, we know how defenders are, but especially with VAR these days, I don't get why defenders don't realize every action is going to be checked.